What is going on YouTube? Kronos here, and welcome back to another PSO2 video. So, for today's video, we're going to be going over the Kukuhroziat weapons. Are they worth your time? Should you upgrade them? Should you get them? So on and so forth. But before we jump into that, guys, if you're new to the channel, my name is Chrono. I cover PSO2 content primarily. We'd much appreciate a subscribe as we work our way towards that 7K mark. At the time of recording this, we're less than 20 away, so fingers crossed that we make it there in the next day or so. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this. So, I want to go ahead and show you guys something really quick, and this is going to be just a short explanation. If you guys want more information about it, feel free to ask in the comments or DM me or anything along those lines. But it's essentially just a damage calculator. You can see percentages between the different weapon types. The things to kind of keep an eye out for are Grega here, which is the Grega Plus. There's just a bit of a typo here. But the Grega Plus, the Relic here, which is the 27% version of the potential of the Relic. Technically, the tech one has the same amount of damage potential on it, and the Sync pots. The reason why I want to show this really fast is just because you can actually see the Sync pots, the potential increasing by a percentage doesn't necessarily translate to an exact damage increase. Where you've got the potential level 1 going potential 2, we know that it's actually a 2% damage difference or 2% buff to the potential each time it goes up, and then at 4 it goes up by 4%. It's not exactly how it translates. You can kind of see that it goes up sort of linearly, but not exactly. And I wanted to go ahead and show that to you guys so you can tell that, how to do a bit of a comparison and know that the numbers aren't always going to exactly add up the way they might look. So now that we've gone over that, let's go ahead and hop over to the Visifone website. Really quick, I always talk about this in every video, but just to bring it up, I always go through this process and show you guys where I get this information from. That way, just in case you want to get it on your own, you can find this info on your own. You don't have to wait for me to make a video. And then of course you can verify your findings after the fact. I take a look at soaring blades because it's my primary weapon. No matter how bad I feel like they do me every time there's an update, it still doesn't matter. I still love this weapon. Now, we have our 4 primary weapons that we're going to be looking at. We have Grega, we have Relic, we have Synquum, and then there's a Kukuhroziat weapon. These two are the elemental weapons. They're still solid. They're not really highly useful outside of just proccing elemental status down. And that's about it. So that's kind of where they fit into the meta itself. And you don't really use them as a primary weapon unless you're just really, really down bad for weapons. You need something that's going to be useful. And maybe there's an event going on, so it's useful in that situation. Outside of that, that's about it. So these 3 weapons themselves. Grega weapon, or as I like to call it, the alt, king weapon. It's not very expensive. It's very solid. It's got good boss damage. And it's pretty much, if you're familiar with MMO terms, what you would use to get into the raid to get your best in slot weapon, essentially. So you've got your Grega weapon, it's pretty solid, and then we can take the Kukuhroziat weapon and take a look at it and see that 1 for 1, it's actually on par with the Grega. So if you're looking at the potentials, you can see that it's only 20% potency normally, but 24% against the boss. The Kukuhroziat is 22% damage with 5% damage resistance, and then an additional 5% damage and 50% damage resistance when in a Geometric Labyrinth quest. Short explanation of this, we're going to go into it more in another video, but Geometric Labyrinth is, if you've ever played base PSO2, think divide quests, but have endless quest modifiers on them. There is a single player or solo variant as well as a multi variant, so you're able to go in with up to 4 players as well as go in solo, and there's a scoring system involved. So it's definitely going to be something that players are going to go into and be really happy to go into and have a good time with. I'm actually really excited for it personally. So how does this kind of match up? So again, 1 for 1, definitely exactly the same across the board, but what about against the big daddy Synquum blade? So short version of this, Synquum is still stronger. From a damage perspective, just barely at max. Very important, at max potential, Synquum is stronger. Now, we do a little damage comparison, kind of did a bit of napkin math. It's not exact, but I've had some people do some calculations, and it comes out to being that the Kukuhroziat weapon is behind the Synquum by about around 2 to 3% damage, which for most people is not a huge difference. It's not a huge deal. They really don't care. But that is the Kukuhroziat weapon while in the Geometric Labyrinth quest. So that's at the 27%, not the 22%, but the 27%. So why is this important? Well, the thing to remember is most people aren't at max for the Synquum blade. And if you take a look at the percentage values, you can see that between pot 3 and pot 4, it's about a 3% damage difference. So for most people, you're going to be in the pot 3 range. It's a lot of scales to get this moving up to pot 4. So realistically, you want to look between these 2 percentages here. And we know from rough napkin math, it's about 3% difference. With these being roughly a 3% difference, what you'll find is that the Kukuhroziat is about on par with a rank 3 or a potential level 3 Synquum. Maybe not exactly. Again, the numbers are slightly skewed, but the damage differences are going to be within 1% or 2 roughly. But that's not all. That's just looking at it from a damage perspective. We also have damage resistance. It is 55% damage resistance while in the Geometric Labyrinth quests. There is no contest. No other weapon provides you this much damage resistance realistically at this damage potential. It's not a thing that happens. So the short version is this weapon worth it? Absolutely. You're going to get a lot of value out of it for a few reasons. One, it's a stronger weapon at this level for you just to fight random mobs with. Now, fighting bosses, you're going to get a bit more damage out of the Grega. However, the new quest when it comes out is going to be on the 20th. Everyone's going to be jumping on board and doing. So you're going to get a lot of value out of this weapon itself. So it's definitely worth picking up and using. However, it's still not going to be stronger than a max level Cinquim. So what does that tell me? At a very, very high level, like I'm talking perfect level, never taking damage, never getting hit, players might use the Cinquim weapon. Maybe while in the Geometric Labyrinth. However, for the average player, in most situations, even the above average player, which some people, I've said multiple times, I'm looking at the average player, they're like, no, well, you're technically above average. Even for me, for most players, Kukuhroziat's what you're going to be going for, because that 55% damage resistance ain't no joke. And dying and having to heal, I mean, if you guys have seen the modifiers that exist in the quest, I'm talking taking damage over time, being unable to heal, being enemies dealing more damage, having Gigantics variants, it's absolutely insane. It's going to be super cool. I'm going to have a lot of fun doing it, but that 55% damage resistance is there for a reason, and it's definitely going to be useful. So if anything else, if maybe you're not using it all the time, it's definitely something you're going to swap over to. So just in the sheer amount of things you can get done with this weapon itself, it is definitely going to be worth your time to invest in it. I wouldn't say break the bank on it. Like, it's not going to be your end all be all. Keep in mind, in June, we do have an update that's going to be a new area, likely going to be new weapons. We're going to be going up to level 60. So just remember to keep that in the back of your mind. That is going to be a thing that happens. So don't break your bank on this, but you're definitely going to get at least 2 months worth of time out of this weapon itself. So hey, pretty straightforward. Hopefully this wasn't too long. I recorded this a few times beforehand. I felt like I rambled on way too long, or the video was too difficult. So if I left anything out, feel free to toss it in the comments below. If there's anything you guys want to share with me, again, my DMs are always open. You're more than welcome to reach out to me. If you have any questions, again, comments, DMs, subscribe if you enjoyed the video, or if you like the video, subscribe if you want to keep up with more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Peace out.